It's a case of the minority may have its say, but the majority has had its way as the ruling APC's proposed manner of voting has come to pass, delivering Godswill Akpabio and Barrow in the Senate and Tajuddin Abbas and Kalu in the House. And the Speaker of the House, Tajuddin Abbas, says the House under him will not be a rubber stamp. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimaloe in Abuja. We begin with telling you about Governor Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State, who was embarked on a medical leave abroad and has handed over power to his deputy, Mr. Lucky Ayedatiwa. The Speaker of the House in Ondo State, Olamide Oladiji, confirmed the receipt of a letter from the governor indicating his departure for treatment. The Speaker says the governor had embarked on a 21-day leave for medical treatment abroad, starting from the 7th of June 2023 to the 6th of July 2023. A lot happened today in the National Assembly. Over the past few weeks and months, the discussion over the 10th National Assembly and how the leadership will shape or look like has gotten a lot of people talking. The discussion has been on the quality of leadership that would emerge from what the APC have proposed, but it does look like it was 100% delivery for the APC on how they wanted the leadership of both chambers of the National Assembly to go. This was backed by the APC and President Ndume. We get reactions on some of the issues that have emerged and some of what has gotten a lot of Nigerians talking. That gets our attention largely when the Speaker says, under him, the House will not be a rubber stamp, considering the criticism on the 9th National Assembly. What does that mean? We'll get talking about this, but first, let's check your political roundup stories.
Several state assemblies were inaugurated today and presiding officers were elected in Borno, northeast Nigeria. Mr. Abdul Karim Lawan is returning as Speaker of the State House of Assembly for the 4th time. Honorable Lawan is representing Guzamala State constituency of the state. In Niger State, a former commissioner for local government, community development and chieftaincy affairs, Mr. Abdul Malik Daji, representing Mariga State constituency, has also been elected as Speaker of the 10th Assembly, while the only female in the State Assembly, Mrs. Afiniki Dauda, representing Gurara State constituency, was elected as Deputy Speaker. In Kaduna State, Mr. Dahiru Liman has been elected as the Speaker of the State House of Assembly. The new Speaker emerged unopposed, while Henry Magaji, representing Kagariko State constituency, also emerged as a Deputy Speaker. In Cross River State, Mr. Elvet Anyambem, representing Ikom 2 constituency, has emerged as the Speaker of the House of Assembly. Mr. Anyambem, a returning lawmaker, was voted unopposed by the 25 members of the House, while Mr. Sylvester Agabi, representing Obudu State constituency of the state, was also elected as Deputy Speaker. And from the south-south to the southwest in Ogun State, a mild drama played out at the Ogun State House of Assembly as members of the People's Democratic Party stormed the Assembly complex in an apparent response to the postponement of the inauguration of the State House of Assembly. A visit to the House of Assembly in Abeokuta, the state capital, revealed that the place was calm, but security operatives were stationed at strategic places to maintain law and order. A representative of the 9 members elected under the People's Democratic Party, Adeleye Lukman, maintained that they were at the complex to avoid the repeat of the Nasarawa State House of Assembly experience, as they were not adequately informed about the postponement.
All right then, everyone. The presidential villa today is being a beehive of activities following the inauguration of the National Assembly and the election of presiding officers. The former President Goodluck Jonathan had visited President Tinubu, and he said the meeting he's had with the president was to brief him on his roles and interventions on the continent. For those who write examination, you understand what it means to deliver 100%. And for those who get political duties, well, this is one of those days you will say, this is 100% delivery. It was 100% victory for the All Progressives Congress APC today. All its candidates for the presiding officers' roles emerged victorious. Senator Godswill Akpabio today met with President Bola Tinubu at the presidential villa hours after his emergence as the Senate President for the 10th National Assembly. In the Red Chamber, Senator Akpabio defeated Senator Abdulaziz Yari to emerge the new Senate President, and the former Akwa Ibom governor was returned elected as the President of the 10th Senate after scoring 63 votes to defeat Senator Yari, who polled 46 votes. Senator Akpabio was accompanied by Governors Imo, Opus Odema, and that of Lagos, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, Governor of Kogi State, Yaya Bello, as well as former Kano State Governor Abdullahi Ganduje. President Tinubu and leaders of the APC had backed Akpabio despite criticisms and oppositions from some members of the ruling party. Senator Jibrin Barau from Kano State, representing Kano North Senatorial District, emerged unopposed as the Senate Deputy President. He will be taking over from Senator Ovie Omoagege. In the House, member representing Zaria Federal Constituency in Kaduna State, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, who was elected Speaker of the House just as a member representing Bende Federal Constituency in Abia State, Benjamin Okeze Kalu, emerged the Deputy Speaker of the House for the 10th National Assembly. All the four principal offices of the 10th National Assembly were endorsed by Senator Tinubu and the APC. So you can see, well, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, or Abbas Tajuddin, as the case may be, because a lot of people are wondering what exactly is his surname. Is he Abbas or Tajuddin? But we understand that Tajuddin is his surname. Tajuddin Abbas, 352 votes. Honorable Idris Wase, a former Deputy Speaker from Plateau State, 3 votes. And Honorable Sada Soli, 3 votes. That's how it went down in the House of Representatives. But all of these did not go down without some criticism, and those who believe that, well, justice may not have been served. But the APC, knowing full well, led by Bola Tinubu, now know that they have 100%. But the president had said, look, this victory that they've had, they cannot take it for granted, and first, they're not resting on their oars and just focusing on the goal. Let's speak with the man who led a campaign for Senator Godswill Akpabio, Senator Ali Ndume, who told us on this program that Senator Bola Tinubu, the president, is 100% backing Senator Godswill Akpabio, even when it does look like things might boomerang and it may not go the way of the APC. Senator Ali Ndume, maybe congratulations might be in order, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you very much.
You guys did not sleep.
Yeah.
You were working overnight. Because what we understand is that Senator Yari, up until the wee hours of today, was coasting to victory. But you guys performed some magic. What was it?
It was not magic. It was politics, more of politics, you know. But alhamdulillah, you know, it turned out the way we wanted. And I think it's good for our democracy. It's good for the country. And now we feel that this singular act of today will give all Nigerians sense of belonging. God has a way of doing his things, you know. The way this politics that played out, if people sit down to do critical analysis of it, goes out to show that some of the considerations that people out there talk so much about do not really matter. For example, I'm a Muslim. I was the one that nominated, campaigned vigorously for the emergence of Senator Godswill Akpabio. And he was seconded by a Christian. And then on the other side, Senator Ishaku Cliff, nominated, was the leading campaign member of Yari. And he's a Christian from the north, from Adamawa State. And he was seconded by Jimo Ibrahim from, interestingly, is Ondo State, I think. So you can see that religion that people hype on is not the real thing that people put into consideration, but interest. And also, interestingly, we have 54 members of the Christian faith among us out of the 109. We, the Muslims, have 55. You can see how God does it. Many people don't even think about that. And the votes turn out to be 63 against 46. You cannot place who voted who and how.
So what happened? How did you guys do it? Tell me about it. Maybe we can learn some of the politicking that goes on. How did you guys swing it? Because up until very late, because I was still up at night trying to find out what is going on in each of the camps, and there were assurances. And in fact, those in your camp were afraid that things might go in the way of Senator Yari.
I don't think so. As you rightly said, myself, Umahi, and we have 3 co-chairmen, Oshomole and the governor of Niger were the co-chairmen, and I was the DG. And also, interestingly, as at this morning, early this morning, or when we close our meeting in the morning today, we did a real analysis. And we came up with 62. And we got 63.
Who is the 63rd person?
I don't know.
You didn't factor in?
No, we analyzed.
You thought that you were going to get 62 votes.
Yes.
But you won.
No, the votes that we are sure of was
62.
Because we had 70, as at the last count, we had a dinner sometimes, where we had people that signed on to us again. We had a number went up from 72 to 76. But when we sat down to do a critical analysis, we said, look, let's not deceive ourselves. Look at you, at this, at this. We came up with 62.
So the president on his own side had instructed the governor of Imo State to also lead the execution committee from the APC side of things. So does that really add up, or does that really help in any way?
Yeah, it
from
helped.
the outside?
Yeah, so many factors help on the outside. And it's usual. You know, when I contested last time, everybody was on the other side in the government, you know, because the president or the government or the party then endorsed Amelawa. It's almost a repetition of the same thing. The party and the president had a preferred candidate, but this president, because he's experienced politician, played a lot of politics in it, so he deployed his foot soldiers to complement our effort, and that made a difference. The vice president was on it. He himself was calling some people. And this afternoon when we visited...
The President Tinubu called people by himself?
He went to some people even. It's politics.
He went to visit senators?
He sneaked out and visited some people, begged them to you know, support, and he has his reasons. As I said, I was convinced. His reasons are convincing. You know, up initial. Get somebody from South out to be the Senate president, or get somebody, because the South didn't have it since 1999. Now we have changed or made history by having somebody from South. And as you can see from day one, I don't know whether you listened to or you watched the acceptance speech or
I was monitoring how to.
Okay, you see that Opabio has what it takes to deliver. And we are there too to give him the support. The president is an experienced politician. He is a senator. I said it. His vice president is a senator. Everybody is virtually the chief of staff, SGF. All these people are from the legislative. They have legislative experience, and that means they are connected to the grassroots. And I think actually the renewed hope that is the mantra of Mr. President is manifesting already.
Let me allow viewers to listen to part of what Senator Godswill Akpabio, he looked a bit relaxed.
Yeah.
Maybe he wasn't looking too official like the way a lot of people may have. He looked a bit relaxed, very unofficial, was even cracking jokes. about his wife and how beautiful she is and how supportive she is. In fact, that even his daughter was also in the chambers at that time, and if there was any senator who was younger, was lucky to be able to cite the daughter. I mean, that was on a lighter note at that moment, just to let you know that I monitored throughout. But take a listen to a portion of what Senator Godswill Akpabio, who is now the Senate President, what he said in his inaugural speech.
Let me thank the President for the choice of Senator Godswill Akpabio and Senator Jibril Barrow, and also thank the party, the All Progressive Congress, for the zoning system that brought all of us, and especially thank my colleagues, my brothers, and my sisters in the 10th Assembly, the 10th Senate, for voting for us across party lines. This is the way we shall continue to be together. Whatever will happen here, we will think Nigeria, and will dwell on Nigeria, and will make a very big difference. I assure you that my reputation precedes me. My track record is there for all to see. We will bring about uncommon changes in the 10th Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
That is a portion of his speech. He said, uncommon change, that is what it would bring, and his track record. Perhaps he's talking about what he did in Akwa Ibom State.
Yeah.
And that brings me to what the senators on this 10th National Assembly will be bringing on board. There's a bit of distrust, a public distrust in public institution these days. Those who believe that those who are in government are just there for selfish reasons. How can Nigerians be certain, sure that you guys have the interests of Nigerians at heart?
When they start seeing the results of the actions. And that is what we're bent on doing, because the Senate particularly is an institution full of expectations. It's supposed to be, the Senate historically was formed to stabilize the system, to provide leadership in the country. And that has gone down continuously. And now we are at a level where we have to do something in order to regain the confidence of Nigerians that we lost. The extent that the Senate as an institution, or us, some of us as individuals who are called names, stand extension of the legislature, the executive and all that. And that has to change, because the president, as I said, was a legislator, and he knows what are the constitutional rules of the legislative arm of government. And for him to succeed, he will actually need to encourage, and he has started already, the institution to play its constitutional role, that is of effective oversight and making good laws for good governance, and also supporting policies of government that require the support of the legislative arm of government.
What is the focus of this 10th Senate? What are you hoping? That will give assurances, because there's no matter what you say, your action needs to speak louder than your voices these days to be able to impress Nigerians. Nigerians believe that you guys just get a lot of money, get luxury vehicles, and drive around Abuja and doing little less to what you are being paid compared to your colleagues and peers in some part of the world. And they do not even see the reason why we should have two chambers of the National Assembly based on the poverty level in the land.
Well, you're making allegations, and some of those things that you have said is true. If you look at it vis-a-vis the situation in the country, and also the workload, I am one of the advocates that, look, under this circumstance, maybe you should even consider looking at the cost of governance from the legislative arm of government. But if you critically analyze it also, you will see that, for example, we have I think, 21 trillion budget this year, out of which what goes to legislature is less than 1% or so. But, at most, what? 100, it used to be 100 billion for the legislature. That is aside the capital interventions in the budget, but what actually goes on into the legislative arm of government as recurrent expenditure is negligible compared to what is being spent.
But
on
the bottom
the
line, Senator, is what would you be doing? What is
we are now saying we have a 10-point agenda that we read out as to what we want to do. Look at the laws that creates bottleneck in progress, like our tax laws. We need to review that. We need to review how we take loans, what we do with the loans, and how we pay the loans. With what benefit will it be? We need to use, the abandoned resource persons that will help to bring the institution. What I mean by that is, for example, 76 or more number of senators are not returning. They are going with the experience that they acquired for 4 years. Because there is no handover notes to the next incoming, we need to have them close into the system so that they will help the system grow. We also plan to make the legislature or the legislative arm of government, especially the Senate, an institution where we rub ideas, discuss issues extensively before coming up with a decision as to maybe support the government or approve, because I like the loans. In those days, whenever they bring loans, you just sign on to it, not knowing the implications, not analyzing it critically, not throwing it open to the public to have their input.
But this Senate will be more rigid about approving.
I don't want you to use that word, rigid.
Okay, so the reason is there are a lot of allegations on the issues of the Ways and Means, which the senators have been criticized about. That how come you've approved such an enormous amount? Was there any kind of due diligence that was done?
None.
With the benefit of hindsight, there are a lot of Nigerians who feel very sad about how the Ways and Means process and approvals came from the Senate, and maybe in the manner in which it was approved.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was vehemently against the way. First of all, I feel that we don't have the right to do what we did, because
that was illegal. Is that what you're saying? When you say you don't have the rights?
Well, I don't know, especially if I'm involved. I don't know whether I want to say I did something illegal. You understand? But the National Assembly is supposed to approve, not to rectify. What we did in the case of the 23.7 trillion Ways and Means debt from the CBN was to rectify. I don't think there is anything in the Constitution that allows us.
Do you regret that kind of situation? Looking back at what happened?
For me personally, for the institution of our system, I feel very bad. But for me personally, God knows, I tried my best. I raised the issue in November when it came up, and then we set up an ad hoc committee. And let me even tell you that for that day when they approved that load, we were kind of ambushed, some of us that are very critical. The presiding officers have a smart way of doing things. Well, if they look around, is Ndume around, or whoever is going to be critical. If they are not around, you bring supplementary order paper, and it goes out like that.
So that's how it's been. There are a lot of things that a lot of Nigerians are now looking at. How come these very controversial things that are happening? Right. On the day of your, the valedictory, there are about 2 or 3 statements that were made that got people thinking. You mentioned another one now, Senator Bukachua, making reference to how he prevailed on his wife to help some of you, your colleagues in the National Assembly. In fact, Senator Rocha Sokorocha was also questioning the emergence of Senator Ahmed Lawan back into the Senate, and how judiciary, the role it played in politics and some of these issues. It bothers a lot of people. Doesn't it bother you too?
It does. But, people are caught in between what is right or moral and what is social. My wife is a high court judge, my first wife. And when people know that your wife is a judge, especially your friends. They put pressure on you. We're all humans. Depends on how strong you are to stand against this kind of a thing. And sometimes, especially when the system itself is more or less compromised or can be compromised, then you'll be tempted. But I like his courage for confessing publicly, even when he could have decided to say no. I think it will help the system, people, to look inward, look at yourself and say, well, and you believe that what you did was wrong. The best thing is to come out to say, I did this, and I'm sorry for that. And maybe that will help others that will be tempted to do the same.
Senator, what assurance can you give to Nigerians tonight that is sure of what to come from your Senate, this 10th Senate? Because you carried the burden, and people will remember that you are one of those who pitched Gozawa Akpabio and Barao Jibrin. So we hold you accountable if there is any kind of failure.
No, I don't think that is right.
Well, you propagated them. You said
but now
they are the best.
Yeah, I'm not the Akpabio. Even before God, Akpabio will account for his own. Me, I can't.
But you should be able to carry some liability if you are the one.
No, I don't have this liability. I'm not.
But you are the one who said it was the best.
I'm not. Yeah, I said he's the best. But if it turns out not being the worst, I'm not going to be.
So we should not hold you accountable.
How can you hold me accountable? I didn't force anybody to vote.
But you must have gotten some assurance that he's the best. That's why you said he was the best.
I believe he's the best. But I don't know what he will do tomorrow. I can't say that. I'm expecting that from what I have seen. I've known Akpabio for 4 years. He was a minority leader while I was a majority leader. And I know he's somebody that is intelligent, he's passionate about some issues, and he's detribalized. He's a qualified lawyer. He was a minister. He was a commissioner. He has all it takes to do what Nigerians expect.
The likes of those who are very aggrieved, the likes of Senator Shehu Sani, pictures emerged of how he met Senator Kashim Shettima, the vice president, and the president himself, President Bola Tinubu. And those who believe that when he stepped down, he was one of those who believe that the North Central were being marginalized in the scheme of the arrangement for the National Assembly presiding officers. Did he and some of his likes play any role in today's victory of your party?
Yeah. Well, I was with him. We were very close. We were together up to this morning. We tried to convince him. And finally, after President met him and spoke to him. He's one of those that President contacted personally. And he had reason to be aggrieved. Actually, the balancing was not really tailored out well because the North Central, as you said, don't have any of the presiding officers. And but I said last time here that the president is conscious of this, and I guess that was one of the reasons why he went for Akume. And I think that is not the end. The government is a big institution. There are so many things. Like
so
now,
consideration, right?
If you look at it, the appointment of SGF, to me, is more important than Deputy Senate President.
Senator, let's anchor on this note. There are some unusual things that happen today.
What?
Usually, by tradition, the election happens first in the Senate, the proclamation read on the floor of the Senate, election will happen, inauguration will happen in the Senate, then the clerk and the deputy clerk and his team will move to the lower chamber to read the proclamation letter and inaugurate the lower chamber. But we understand that it was a strategy of your team to ensure that this happened simultaneously.
No, it wasn't.
And it happened earlier than 10 o'clock, the usual traditional time.
No, I remember that I remember that after our election was conducted, the clerk told us that he's moving to the House of Representatives.
But the proceedings were simultaneous.
No.
It was simultaneous. We watched, we covered it, we put it on TV.
Who presided over
The deputy clerk.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It was simultaneous. We thought that it was a strategy from your team.
From our team? I'm not aware of that. And you know.
So usually, but you know it's usually around 9, 10 o'clock when it starts.
Well,
you've been one of the longest serving lawmakers, so you should remember. As some of us who have monitored this for several years, we also remember.
Wait, let me tell you, does that matter anyway? For the first time...
For a politician, does it not matter?
Wait now. For the first time in the time I remember, 109 of us were there. And that's the total number of senators. 109. Everybody voted. There was no... besides small this thing that happened initially, and as you can see, it was more or less of displaying your interest, pushing your interest. But we were 109 there.
Senator Ndume, it's good to see you again. Thank you so much, and congratulations again.
Thank you.
Because I know it's not so easy when you carry on this kind of project.
Honestly, I slept like a baby. You can see I'm still very...
But you still have a lot of sleepless nights because Nigerians, some of us will be watching and we keep our eyes on you guys.
Why?
And to ensure that you deliver to Nigerians what you have promised.
No, I have my own responsibility on that. You hold every... I'm not your senator. What's my business with you?
Are you a senator of the Federal Republic?
Yes, but I'm not your senator. I'm not representing.
Senator Ndume, thank you so much indeed for coming tonight. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
We'll take a break, and when we return, we get yet another perspective, or some perspective, because I have other lawmakers from the House of Reps. Maybe you do not agree with Senator Ndume on how things went. We'll be getting their perspective right after this break, everyone. Join us again. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us on the program. Let's get back to the conversation. Now, we'll focus our attention on the Green Chambers, the House of Representatives. Of course, what happened today, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, there was some typo errors in the name of Senator Jaji. I mean, Honorable Jaji was Honorable Sada Soli. I think when I was writing that, I was thinking that it was on the program, so two things were on my mind at the same time. So Tajuddin Abbas, 353 votes, 3 votes to Idris Wase and Honorable Jaji, 3 votes. I'm being joined now by Honorable Sada Soli, one of those who were in the race at the initial stage but stepped down. Is of the APC from Katsina State, and Honorable Dachong Bagos is an opposition member from Plateau State, a member of the PDP. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on.
Thank you, Shem.
You stepped down, Honorable Sada Soli. You told me you were going to go the whole hog. What happened?
I went the whole hog.
What was the trade about?
There were a lot of dynamics playing out. Remember, we're doing politics, and politics is a game of give and take. And we went into a situation, the president of a country and the vice president of a country prevail on you, appeal to you to step down. And I think if you're a reasonable party man, you should give in to those people, and that's exactly what I did. I'm a background parliamentarian. I'm a good party man, and I respect elders. And for the fact that the president should say, please give it to me, I think any reasonable citizen should do that. And I yielded to the president.
Well, I understand that you were one of those that the president was begging up until very late in the night. Why did it take you so long?
Well, let me correct one thing. The president was not begging. The president was putting reason.
Persuading you?
Yes, he was trying to persuade. He pleaded on behalf of the country, on behalf of the party. And we saw reason in his plea. And we accepted his plea, and he was very grateful. And I applaud the president and the vice president for proving that they have an open door policy. They are open to listening to people, and then playing the game of politics. And the game of politics was actually played with some level of dignity and respect for someone's right to aspire. The president did not deny anybody to aspire, but he put reasons for doing one thing or the other.
So the treatment was dignifying.
It was dignified.
It was not humiliating.
No. The president was making offers.
It was more persuasive.
It was persuasive and proving that the government is a big elephant. And I applaud the president for being.
How do you describe him?
I think he's an honest person. He's someone who is passionate about the country, and because of his age, because of what he has gone through politics, he has learned to give and take. He believes in the politics of give and take.
So what is he giving you?
I can't say he's given me something, but he has opened to certain concession, which is between my discussions and which is not fair for me to divulge.
So it's personal?
It is personal.
So you are taking, and you're giving your vote?
Yes, because he's a gentleman.
Let me ask Honorable Bagos, what was your ask for someone else and you voted for another person, just like one of your colleagues said today?
Well...
Or your heart was where you voted?
Absolutely, Sheun. Because as opposition, one of the things that we have resolved to look into is that what kind of opposition do we even want to put up on the floor? Is it a senseless opposition or a sensible opposition? So we have to look at those dynamics that as opposition party. Number one, none of us is contesting. So if we want to put a proper opposition, we should be able to look at those sensible opposition issues that we need to look into. So we all resolve that, look, if we really want to give it to the ruling party, what and how they have been able to convince us that, look, this is why they need Tajuddin Abbas, and the reason why we need to support Tajuddin Abbas. And again, looking at the issues on ground, why we were being voted by Nigerians, to really give them sensible opposition on the floor on issues that has to do with the well-being of Nigeria and Nigerians, not about the issue of speakership, in as much as the presiding officer will be able to put in his gavel on issues that have to do with laws and other areas. So looking at what we have been able to do is a collective resolve, not that our mind was somewhere. Our mind is where we voted for, and that is where we are going to put in our opposition full force with all the weight if Nigerians did not get the dividends of democracy on why they voted us into power. So our mind was with Tajuddin
Honorable
Abbas.
Bagus, you left your brother was in the rain.
It's not about leaving my brother. When it comes to national politics or when it comes to issues that have to do with national interests, it's not about brotherhood, it's not about party, it's about issues, it's about ideology, it's about looking at what can we collectively come together.
At what point did you and your
a lot of
look away from Idris Wase's side?
No, we didn't tell you that we were with any candidate, by the way, as opposition. If you have followed us, we were never at point in time with any of the candidates.
But did you at some point looked at the fact that the North Central, the way and manner, they thought, I mean, Honorable Yusuf Gagdi, Honorable Idris Wase, well, one of those who said, look,
if you want to talk
they've been marginalized. I mean, you are also from Plateau.
No, if you want to talk about the North Central, then which means you personalize it to me. But if you want to talk about the issue of who becomes the presiding officer, it has to do with the issue of the entire opposition. So the entire opposition is not looking at North Central, it's not looking at Southwest, or it's not looking at Northwest. It's looking at who can we be able to trust with leadership and mandate of the presiding officership. But issue of North Central, that is personal to me. So, and the opposition party, if you recall, we have sat down with all the aspirants, even Right Honorable Sada Soli here. We had an interface with him. We had an interface with each and every one of them. So it was, and it is our resolve that at the end of the day, this is the person we can really hold accountable. Because it's better to hold them accountable if they fail, not to go the other way. And if they fail, we say, well, you did not trust us with what we have told you. So now we have trusted them with this. It is now left for them to deliver on what they have assured us and they have assured our constituents. So that is the difference between either it is not central. Again, I've always said that, look, the personalization of regional and zonal politics has been what has taken us aback. But let's look at credibility, let's look at capacity, let's look at who and how we'll be able to deliver the dividends of democracy. But in as much as federal character is key to guide us in who becomes what. But when we don't look at federal character, we now look at a geopolitical zone, which, yes, is a component of the federal character, then we'll be able to fail in that.
All right.
Yeah, so, but when the cycle goes round, look at credibility, look at federal character, then we'll be able to hit the
You are the mouthpiece of your group heading into this election, and there are a lot of issues that came up. What would you say was the trade-in or the trade-off for in all of the conversations that you had that made you and your colleagues in the opposition align forces with the ruling APC?
Yeah, basically, one of the things that we collectively looked at, let me tell you, the truth is that maybe it will be the first time that I will tell Sada Soli here. He was among the top contenders that we have been able to look at. And out of about 7 or 8, about 3 to 4 of them came top from our own rating, because we looked at ideology of the individual that have to do, it's not about political party, it's not about endorsement, or tomorrow you would call it rubber stamp. We look about the capacity to be able to carry the house and institutional memory. And if you look at the institutional memory of all of them, out of the top 3, top 4, you will agree with us that, look, any of them could have been the presiding officers. But zeroing on Abbas have to do with the weight that he already has as the preferred candidate of the ruling party. Because we want to look at the ruling party.
What does he have above the others?
No, we want to look at the ruling party tomorrow and say, look, you were the ones that said Abbas can do this job. And if he fails, if we speak tomorrow, if we oppose tomorrow, we will not be held responsible, because we are doing the duty.
Are you able to oppose him when the chips are down?
Well, today he's not 24 hours into office yet. But let me tell you, why not? Why not? Because that is when we'll be able to talk and speak to him head up high. Because, look, you gave us your word. The ruling party gave us your word. And because we are looking at sensible opposition, not senseless, or not because we are the opposing party. So anything that comes from the ruling party, we just oppose.
Even in the face of the criticism that you guys were dogmatic, you just followed suit.
No. We can't. If we were to just follow suit, we couldn't have screened them. Like I said, he is here. He was screened as well by the opposition.
Let me quickly take you up on this, and I'd like you to listen to what the speaker said when he was at the villa today, and it's a major criticism of the National Assembly. And he mentioned it, and he's saying that is not what the National Assembly, with him in charge of the Green Chamber, will be. Take a listen to Honorable Tajuddin Abbas.
You talk about rubber stamp. Look at the acceptance rate. Those who have elected those across party lines, almost all the whole entire PDP, SDP, ADC, and all other minority parties voted us. So if they felt that we are going to be rubber stamps, do you think they will elect us? No. They believe that we will safeguard the sanctity of the National Assembly, the legislature. We will always separate our independence, and will relate and be able to harmonize with the executive where necessary. But where there is a conflict of interest, where we feel that the executive is or wants to do something that is not is not in the interest of the public, they know that we'll stand up against that.
Honorable Sada Soli, yeah. I mean, this is a major criticism. People believe that, I mean, like I saw Senator Ali Ndume, there is a huge public distrust in public institutions, just like the National Assembly. And the belief is that it's being a rubber stamp National Assembly, especially in the 9th Assembly. How do you convince the people of Nigeria that you and your colleagues will be in rubber stamp to the executive?
Well, you see, I don't even understand the meaning of rubber stamp. But be as it may, that is the public perception. And public perception is something different in the when you compare it with the realities. You see, what Mr. Speaker is saying, or said, basically is saying we will do the right thing. And then we will allow the general public to judge us fairly. And we appeal to the Nigerian public to judge the National Assembly fairly. The issue of rubber stamp, does it mean doing the right thing or yielding to a superior argument? Rubber stamp? Remember, these are independent arms of government, but they have their nuances, they have their disagreements. But that does not mean we should not come to a point whereby we will deliver to the Nigerian public.
Honorable, and when you were watching my conversation with Senator Ndume, and I asked him about the issue of ways and means, and he said, look, he didn't understand how that went through the Senate. And these are issues the Nigerian people will be asking. Where were you and your colleagues when this kind of thing went through the National Assembly? The reason why they criticize you has been Robert Stamp.
Shehu, let me be honest with you, with due respect to Senator Ali Ndume. Do we have a role in granting the ways and means by law? Yes.
Why was it brought before the National Assembly?
Hold on. Why was it brought before National Assembly if we don't have a role? We grant approval. Some, they said approval this, approval this. We legitimize the process. And that is the position of the National Assembly.
Shouldn't you have rejected it?
We shouldn't have rejected it because we're already in it.
Why shouldn't you
the
have
advances were already granted.
You saw something.
Hold on, excuse me. The grants, the advances were already granted by the CBN. So we need to legitimize it.
Why otherwise, you queried?
Well,
one of your roles, one leg of your role as a National Assembly is to play an oversight. So when you see any wrongdoing, shouldn't you have investigated and looked into it?
It was queried in the report where it is being brought when the deed has been done. But then the deed has been done, and you need to legitimize it. Otherwise, it will compromise federal government with its own right to approach the CBN if it requires some advances. That is why, at the tail end of it, we amended the section of the CBN Act where we push in the advances to 15% instead of 5%. We were being futuristic in the process. Now, listen, people need to understand the position of the National Assembly with regards to ways and means. We need to legitimize it. Yes, there were mistakes by the previous government. You cannot avoid that. So many officials couldn't have advised the president to do the right thing, but later on they realized that they have to do the right thing, and they brought the issue to the National Assembly. The National Assembly, not to approve it, to legitimize it.
I mean, is that realization there now of the need that the Nigerian people of the 9th Assembly are slightly different from the Nigerian people of the 10th National Assembly? There seems to be a more consciousness. And we also in the media, we know that, there are possibility of you making mistakes in what you're doing. So we'll put we'll be more critical about what you do.
I understand, Sean, human beings are fallible. And remember, one of the even challenges that we may face, even the current National Assembly, is the turnover. We have 260, 250 new members. So when we encounter this kind of challenges, some of these problems are unavoidable because, one, you have to train the members. One, they have to grasp with the issues. One, they have to grasp with the provisions of the Constitution, provisions of the numerous hundreds and thousands of laws that we have in the country. If you have a turnover of National Assembly like this, you got to be careful in the process of legislation.
Honorable Bagos, do you feel that pressure from the Nigerian people, the need for the delivery of good governance? And if the executive is not standing up for the Nigerian people, can the 10th National Assembly do it? You say, you and your colleagues always call yourself the representative, the voice of the people.
Absolutely, the pressure is there. The pressure. I know how people will say, "Congratulations, don't fail us." And when people say, "Don't fail us," automatically they mean that, look, we are under pain. We are feeling what the country is, the burden on us. So you are there for us to be able to address these issues. And like I said, institutional memory has made the National Assembly to not to be able to even check most of those things. Like I tell, even the second timers, the issue of ways and means is even new to some of us. It's new to some of us.
They don't know about it.
But if these issues have been there, for like 10, 15 years, when it comes, immediately it will be addressed. Now that the benchmark has been shifted to 15%, this is the time that we need to start addressing the issues that look. It shouldn't overshoot 15% again, because this will take another 8 to 12 years before it gets to 15%. And in the next 12 to 15 years, you have new members. They won't know what is there and tell you. Executive will just give you what, say, okay, this thing is okay, and sign it off. So these are issues that institutional memory is one of the great tasks that the 10th National Assembly will be able to build capacity of members. And again, let me say, I wasn't privy to the interview of the Right Honourable Speaker on saying that the opposition will hold them accountable, and which was just what I said. And those were the issues that were the major points that during his screening that we told him that in as much as we have resolved to support you, it doesn't mean that that rubber stamp or that gavel will just go through on anything. No, the resolve is just like a rope in your neck that if you make that mistake, definitely we are coming for it. Yeah.
Let's close the conversation now. I'll have 30 seconds apiece. And it's the feeling out there that there were some things that happened against the usual tradition and convention, that the proceedings are supposed to be held one after the other, held simultaneously, 2 hours earlier than scheduled. These are some of the issues that have been raised to say, oh, these are means by which the politicking that came into play just to ensure that the APC had its way. 30 seconds, Honorable Sarasoli.
I don't think so, but I can guess, having been in the National Assembly since 1992, I can categorically say, yes, something wrong took place. But it's not against the law, it's not against the procedure, but it's unconventional. We have broken some of the precedents that we used to have, but it was managed later on, and then I don't think it was based to shortchange anybody, or there was any suspicion, or there was any thinking of any shenanigan, because the process had to be followed.
Well, he has been here since 1992, so he will really know when something.
He's one of the landlords.
But for me, which is one of the my second weakness in, yes, in as much as it's unconventional, is for us to now check that if we have broken the rules, if we really go again, if we go according to the rules. So in as much as it's unconventional, to me, I'm always in for change at any party level. But the most important thing, let's go according to the rules.
Yes. All right. I need to warn you, though, that there are ropes around your necks.
Absolutely.
Just like you said. Yeah. And it is not only the people who have voted you, it's also the media. We are pulling the rope to ensure that you guys, you and your colleagues...
Let me call on the attention of the media. As long as the media would do the right thing, we will be able to compliment you doing your job.
Exactly.
Don't look at yourself as if you are the most righteous person. Let me segment of the society. You have a big chunk of responsibility to educate the Nigerian people.
And again,
Honorable, we are totally out of time.
Before your time, if the media had taken the Buhari meter in 2015 the way they started it, a lot of things could have been put to hold.
We'll do better.
I guess so.
We have our eyes on you.
Yes.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming. Honorable Sarasoli, Honorable Dachon Bagas, thank you so much indeed, gentlemen, for coming out tonight. That's our show for today, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow again at 7 p.m. I'm sure I'll keep my way. Bye-bye.